Make real change. Make change real. The process is beautiful. Empower your mentality to make real change in the world. I'm Michael King. For those that are just tuning in, and I am been challenged with coaching the idea of change. So I'm in the process of writing my second book. The first one, God's a perfect listener, how he demonstrates his love for us during the most difficult times. I'm actually writing this thing called The Idea of Change to help you successfully manage change. But first, we have to understand just words. Words are so powerful. And last episode, I talked about the idea. So, what is an idea? And I kind of just went through just some basics of what an idea is and then just kind of flowed. So, tonight, on this episode, we'll be talking about what is a process. So, let's get to it. A process is a series of actions or steps that are taken to achieve a specific goal or objective. So the funny thing about processes you got to understand is that it's a series of actions. So process is something that you do. So the process is a series of those. So consecutive. A series is something that's continuous, a continuous action, a continuous something that you will do to achieve a specific goal. So there has to be a couple of components here. You have to have objective. So you got to know where you're going in order to start a process, right? Because there has to be some type of end to this thing. It involves a set of activities that are designed to transform inputs into outputs. So whatever you put inside the process, it is designed to transform those things that you put into it into a desired outcome or an output, often with the aim of creating value. So it creates some type of value. It adds something to what you're doing. Joel Embiid always talks about trust the process because he's trying to create value in his game, value in how he plays the sport. If you look at LeBron James, he has a lot of tools. So trusting the process, the 20 plus years of basketball have taught him a lot of different things. So his process, he's put a lot of input into it, and he's got desired outputs, championships. Michael Jordan, 6 of those things. Bill Russell, 11. So when you look at those type of athletes, they have a process, but they've learned some things by putting some inputs in, various things in their body, different types of moves in their tool bag. They've done a lot of different things to transform, which is change, into a desired outcome. So it creates value and achieves a desired outcome. So processes can be found in various contexts. So this is how processes can be found. They can be found in manufacturing, service delivery, project management, and organizational management. They can be simple or complex depending on the nature of the task and the level of detail required. So I use basketball references. I'm an athlete. I love athletics. So in the context of that was athletics. It's a service delivery. It's also organizations, right? We talk about the NBA as an organizational management. Load management, how you manage the game of basketball is basically the process. How do you get to a championship? That is organizational management type of things, right? It's a very complex thing because we got into these, you hear athletes talk about load management and wear and tear on their bodies. And you talk about athletic trainers that are now giving athletes different levels or forms of training to prevent injury, but not only that, to keep them from furthering any kind of injuries that they can't play through, right? So there's a lot of different inputs that have been put into these processes organizationally, from contracts to contract negotiations. You look at these guys making $300 million for the next 5 years, Jason Tatum. You're looking at these huge contracts. LeBron got paid, guys making $60 million a year, which is unheard of. Rookies making $7 million a year or $7 million over the course of 4 years. These athletes are making a lot of money, but it's the input into the business, right? It's the management of what they're doing, the services. They're providing an entertainment to us, the consumer, who goes to the game and they say, hey, I'm going to pay whatever because these are my favorite players. And with a chance to possibly meet this guy, that'll just make my day. So I'll pay $100 for a seat. Better yet, I'll pay $300 and sit courtside so he knows who I am, right? So that's the level of stardom that some of these players have. And people will pay any cost to see them. That's the process, right? They've put a lot of time and effort, input into their skills and their abilities to play the basketball game. And that output is they're professionals, right? Now they've went through high school, they've went through college, or some of them skip it and go straight to a professional league overseas or go to Europe and play. And they play tournaments all night, all summer long, to get the desired outcome, which is to make it into the NBA, which is only what 1-2%. So that level is a very high level. So the components of processes include inputs, like we were talking about, activities, outputs, and feedback. Feedback. So inputs refer to the resources or materials that are required to complete the process. So when you look at inputs, what do you need? What do you need in order to reach your goals? You know, LeBron he puts a lot of input into his body, right? How could you perform if your body's not working? You know, $1 million is his input into his body, so he gets $1 million in return, or 160. So when you add all of those things up, you couple that with the activity. What's his activity? A lot of his input could be his diet too. You know, his nutritional value and the things that he puts into his body, right? And then the activity is his exercises, his training regimen, his mental, mindful training, you know, mindfulness. Like you look at JJ McCarthy, national champion, just doing mindfulness training, right? Overcoming depression with mindfulness. Those activities, he got the output, which was more focus, better mental resiliency, and he can throw the ball, and he can lead his team, and his team just loves him. He's a great locker room guy. So the feedback is, I like working with this guy, right? So he's got all of those things in his process. He's put it all together to get the desired outcome, which is a championship. Well, I think we all want to win. I don't think anybody plays a game not to win, right? You don't get involved in anything not to be successful. So we have to understand that the process is part of it. There's a process to everything, right? The process is beautiful. The feedback that you get, you want positive feedback from people. Sometimes you have to take the criticisms. Criticisms are, as we'll talk later, it's about your growth and development. Some of that feedback is to develop you, right? Some of it is true, some of it's false. Some of the narratives aren't correct, but it's all for your growth and development, right? So activities refer to the task or the steps that are taken to transform the inputs into outputs. So the activities, if you nail it down even further, it's how do you get from an input to a desired outcome? So that it's through the activity that you use, right? So if you exercise for, 90 minutes for the next 30 days, your desired outcome is that you'll be better at that exercise. You look at Steph Curry. He puts in thousands of shots a day, right? And his desired output is he's one of the best 3-point shooters to ever live. So again, basketball reference, but it's these desired activities. So shooting, working on his shooting. Kyrie Irving working on just kind of sifting through crowds and making these tough layups and acrobatic shots and just flowing with the game of basketball. Like his inputs give him that desired output where he can just score through traffic, right? It's what you put into it. So any athletes out there that are listening, keep this in mind about your process. You might have a process problem where your activities aren't right. So you might want to do the right activities. Like some activities, maybe if you input alcohol into your system, your outputs it's gonna hinder some things, right? Inhibit some issues. It takes 36 hours for that stuff to get out of your system. You put drugs in there, you put the weed in there because you think you're numbing pain, but in reality, you're just you're dulling your pain management, right? Yeah, you might be able to go, but pain is a signal of a precursor to injury risk. So you want those responses to let you know that something's wrong. You don't want to numb it. Alcohol, those type of things do that. They numb the pain. So we got to find better pain management, right? It's plagued us athletes, including myself. We're constantly breaking down our bodies. We're constantly going through tough stress, physical stress, right? Day in, day out, grueling, because we're trying to be better than each other, right? Or better than the next person in my position at another team or conference or in the world. And it takes its toll. It's a cost that you are willing to sacrifice. It's like being a Marine. You're willing to give your life for your fellow mankind. But in this instance, in sports, you're willing to give your body for this dream that you have of being a champion, being a number one. So be mindful of the activities that you put in. Often the use of tools, technologies, or techniques is also activity. So we're using technology. Mike Tyson was using electronic stim treatment to kind of enhance his outputs, right? His performance. He put stim on to enhance his workouts. So technology can be one of those things. Techniques. Aaron Donald went to boxing to help with his hands, to help better move with hand movement. So there's always something else that somebody's doing to try to get a better output. There's always something. Putting the ball in, putting plastic bags over the basketball and dribbling it, or creating an oversized basketball, or creating a football with a beeper. There's these outputs refer to the end result of the process. So, such as a product, service, or report. So the product, the service, or the report. So in business, it's a product, it's a service, right? A report. From a GM leadership, management, organizational management standpoint, your team's good, right? So you have good reports, right? If you're a leader or a manager, you want good reports. So you're going to give them good activities. You're going to give them good input and feedback. That's going to be helpful to get the desired outcome that you're looking for in their performances. That's all that is. So the process is important, right? So feedback refers to the information or data that is generated during the process. So we basically take all of the outputs and put them together. And based on all of the output, the results, we can get accurate feedback. You can't just make up feedback. Okay. I can't stand people who don't really work hand in hand in the process. They don't have any kind of like skin in the game, and they like to give their feedback as if it is facts. And really, there's nothing more than data-driven feedback that can give you accurate feedback, right? Accurate data, accurate information, right? The key is to have the accurate information. If you don't have accurate information in your feedback loop, then you're going to be spinning wheels, and you're never ever going to get to that point or that desired outcome that you're looking for. Or if you are a leader, it's going to be difficult for you to improve your team's performance to get the better reports, right? It's always going to be there will be a stagnation or a hindrance or something. You'll be like, I don't know what's going on. This is difficult because I'm hearing this. My information's just bad. I watch a lot of military, and you hear special forces guys say, hey, it's bad intel. And a lot of times that's when they get in some big, big trouble, is when they have bad intel. Bad intel, bad information leads to bad outcomes, leads to, it can lead to, in their instance, death, right? They go into missions realizing that they may not come back, but when they have bad intel, they can lose more than just one life. They lose all their lives, right? Off of bad information. So it's important that you have good information because the feedback from all of the data that was gathered needs to be factual. Leaders, that's for you. So in a change process, when you're going through change, understanding that the information that's given to you is valuable. That information is how you use it to monitor and improve your performance. It gets you to this last stage that you go through when you're dealing with change to be successful in it. And we'll get there. So the purpose of a process is to achieve a specific goal or objective in an efficient. So efficiency shouldn't take a whole lot of time, and it shouldn't waste time. I see efficient in a process as something where it doesn't waste time. There's no waste. Everything you do is intentional. It has outputs that are generally good, right? And it doesn't waste your time. It doesn't waste your team's time. It doesn't waste anybody that's completing this process. It doesn't waste their time. They're learning something. The activities are intentional and it's progressive, right? Even if it's 1% progressive, they're learning something along the way, right? They're engaged in whatever that activity is. But if you have them doing stuff and it's wasting their time, they don't see the value in it. There's nobody buying into it. Those activities are not efficient processes, right? It's a waste of our time. Okay. It's also effective manners, right? We have to be effective in what we do. Efficiency and effective are two different things. A lot of times people like to get them like jumbled in together because, you can't have one without the other really, but you can, right? You can be efficient, but not effective, right? You can blow through process, but the effectiveness is, did they learn anything, right? I can get from point A to C, but B would have taught me everything I need to know and therefore would have been effective, right? Because if I skip some parts of these steps and these activities, I can be efficient, but I won't be effective because it's not going to last. For example, if I build a house with no foundation, I can build a house, but as soon as the wind comes or as soon as the foundation shakes, the house falls on itself, right? I could build anything quickly, right? It's like cooking. Do you want to roast that's been slow cooking, or do you want a roast that's made within an hour? Give me the roast that's been slow cooking. It's had time to let every bit of that seasoning just get into that meat. Whereas if you cook it fast, it's not going to gather the juices, the seasoning. None of that stuff gets soaked into that meat, and therefore that process the efficiency is there, but the effectiveness of the outcome is not there, right? Okay, moving on. Processes can be designed, analyzed, and improved using various techniques such as process mapping. So mapping out the process, right? Statistical process control and continuous improvement methodologies, right? I said we'll get there. Continuous improvement methodologies. So they're designed and analyzed and improved using these techniques. So the techniques are process mapping. mapping it out, getting a chance to see what that process looks like. Those you would do as a process map for people who are visual, who need to see it, right? Statistical process controls, using the statistics. Those are your numbers people, the data people, the people that like to see the numbers, right? Statistical process control. What are the stats saying? Stat sheets. Like a lot of, if you look at coaches, they want to look at the minutes of their athletes. They want to see, points, averages, right? You got a coach say, hey man, he's only scoring 6 points, but this dude over here is more efficient. His efficiency rating is higher, right? So we want to get him more time on the court, because he's more productive when he's on the court. So those are those statistical process controls. So we get to control our process that we're doing as a coach or whatever, and analyzing it and saying, okay, based on these stats, homeboy needs to be here. Baseball, they use it a lot. Like they can use, okay, this guy's had a better on-base percentage when he's fifth in the lineup, or they notice, with right-handed pitchers, this guy's better. They notice with left-handed pitchers, he tends to, have a higher ribby account. So you can actually really strategically plan a lot of different things for your team to set them up for success, to be on this other end of change. So that's the idea, but this is the process. And the continuous improvement methodologies are just using, various techniques. Keep using them, put them in the hopper, and then sit in the stratosphere and watch them roll. Bill Belichick was great at it. Some of his methodologies, Deflategate, still won a title. It wasn't like they took it away from him. Just fines, right? Deflating the bowl just a little bit to make it a little bit easier, right? Just a little bit of those methodologies gave him the edge, right? Filming. Nobody said we couldn't do that. Just little things like that, right? Some people call it cheating. Some people, he just knew the rules and he kind of, skirt-tailed on that line. You look at the greatest coaches. Phil Jackson had continuous improvement methodology, right? He put the triangle offense and let Michael Jordan work, right? Couldn't stop him from an inside-out game. Scottie Pippen was on the other end of that triangle. But you gave Michael a point, you kicked it in the loop, kicked it into Rodman. Rodman was an excellent passer. People forgot about that. He wasn't just a rebounder. The man could pass the basketball, okay? And he could score if he wanted to. Rodman didn't need to score in the Bulls because they had Scottie and Mike. But then you had so many different options. That triangle offense, looking at basketball, breaking the court down in three parts and 3-man teams and all of that stuff was Phil Jackson's methodology, right? You get in the fast breaks, you get into these different types of techniques or improvement. Once again, we're talking about basketball, right? They all improve upon each other. If you look at how Steve Kerr transitioned basketball into this 3-point game, the 3-point game is crucial. It used to be live or die by the three, but now these guys are they're hitting at a 40% clip, which is unheard of. That's unheard of. You got guys shooting over 40% from the 3-point line. I think Brown was shooting 41% this last year. Guys are really efficient and very effective in the 3-point, and it's about making open shots. We've gotten better techniques. The lethal shooter. Shout out to my mans with the lethal shooting. Doesn't miss. And if he does miss, he ain't missing more than once, right? So there's guys who are elite at shooting. There's guys who are elite at these methodologies or these activities that give you better outputs in your process. Okay? By improving processes, this is the importance. By improving processes, organizations can enhance their productivity, so you're being more productive, enhance your quality, so you have higher quality, and your customer satisfaction. What fan does not like to see their team win? You know what I'm saying? What organization does not like to have their customer satisfied? Because when I go to Cold Stone and I get me an ice cream, I'm satisfied because I want to keep coming back, right? When you go to and you get a specific product like McDonald's, you know what you're going to get because you've had customer satisfaction from eating a Big Mac, getting their French fries. You know what to expect because they had high customer service satisfactions early on, which solidified them and their organization. We see if you want something quick, cheap, fast, where are you going? McDonald's. I'm sorry, it's still probably kids. McDonald's, because they have advertisement. Their improvement methodologies are advertising. Now they've gone to an app. You save more money using the app. There's no other fast food chain that does the app the way McDonald's does the app. I'm sorry. I can feed myself and my son for under $3. How do you do that? Well, they give you free stuff using the app. So really you're only paying for one thing, but you get another thing free. And we're good. And on top of that, you're earning points to get more free stuff. They figured it out marketing wise. There's not a better system that I can think of that will keep people coming back. Customer satisfaction, you know what you're going to get. People right now in inflationary times don't want to pay high prices for foods. We're looking for the deal right now because we're trying to save our money. This is like we don't know what the future is going to hold, so we're going into this saving mode as a society. Okay. By improving these processes, organizations can enhance their productivity, their quality, and their customer satisfaction, all to achieve better outcomes. So that's the process. The process is about your outcome. How do you get the outcome or the desired outcome you need is through the process that you're taking. So if you're dealing with change, think about your process. Think about the process that you took, or think about a process that you need to take to successfully get through or manage the change or just kind of work through change. It's a process. It's beautiful. Right? So anyway, y'all, what is the process? We talked about it. It's inputs and outputs and the steps that you take to get there to generate outcomes. And these outcomes, you use feedback to do a continuous improvement plan. Set that up for yourself so that when you use different techniques and methodologies during the activities with the inputs that you're given, you can take that feedback or that data to keep improving upon things, sticking it in a hopper and just rolling and sit in the stratosphere. All right. My name is Michael King. Make real change. Make change real. The process is beautiful. Empower your mentality to make real change in the world. Peace out.